Hey, thanks guys. Almost. It's gonna work. Yay. So hi, I'm Kirk, as John has just mentioned. Animator turned UX designer. So I studied digital animation and VFX at Falmouth University in Cornwall, lovely place. And I'm now a senior UX designer at Think over in Newcastle. Today I'm going to be talking about the benefits of animation in the world of UX, especially when it comes to prototyping, one of my specialities, or so I think. And I'll be showing you some real world instances where animated prototypes have proved really beneficial in my work. And I'll also be showing you a couple of tools that I like using to achieve these prototypes, and also the assets that I supply to the developers, those tools being Principle and Lottie. Is anybody UX designers here that have used Principle before? Or Lottie? No? Cool. Well, I'm going to do some little tutorials, so you'll get to see how these work. Hopefully, I can show you and you can take something away. And if you like it, then obviously check out more tutorials and whatnot on YouTube. So before I start, whilst I was transferring, I guess, from being an animator to a UX designer, I was listening to this podcast called User Defenders. It was really good, and it was all about talking to inspirational UX designers. And one of the quotes that somebody mentioned on it, I can't remember who exactly it was, really kind of stuck in my mind. It was like, wow, I can relate with that loads, which is this quote here, like that of an animator. Out of nothing, a UX designer is required to create an interface that not only interrelates with itself, but most importantly, the user. This is done by projecting symbols into the imagination, so the user, so as to stimulate emotions and bring what has been experienced alive. And it really did kind of blow my mind. And I put that there, it's kind of a joke, not a very funny one. And I've carried that through with me throughout my career, and always thought about how to create empathy with the user, give them an experience that they can take something away in and really feel like they've engaged with the product and enjoyed that moment. So how does an animator turn into a UX designer? Well, for me, it started a company in London in a startup in Shoreditch called Bundu. I'm going to play a little video here. Hopefully it plays. Perfect. So I was asked by this company, or I applied for the job, to go in as a motion graphic designer to create video content such as this one, to help visualize their vision, visualize their product, to show it to the stakeholders, and to really showcase what was on offer. My contract was quite a short contract at the time, ended up being quite long, and I was sat next to a gentleman called Aidan, who was a UX designer. I was like, wow, I want your job, not his job, but doing that job as a UX designer, I can really empathize with this. I can really relate with this as a career. It's so enjoyable. So my month-long contract got extended, and I gradually meandered, I guess, into becoming a UX designer. First of all, using my motion graphic skills to articulate ideas and to do splash screens such as this one. All these were done in After Effects at the time, Principle, of a software that you can do prototypes with. Hadn't been invented, wish I invented them, but brainstorming with the UX designer to create sort of ideas and visualize them. This was a way of highlighting your timeline and deleting sections. If I play this one here, it'll show you. Basically visualizing these ideas, visualizing these concepts, bringing them to life in a visual form. So as opposed to showing it on a bit of paper or wireframe, not that they're bad, we did it in a way that we could show it off to users. Nowadays, it's gone to a point where I can show these actually on a prototype on the phone and really get it into the hands of the users. And I'll show you some demonstrations of these types of products in a moment. Since then, I've worked with some fantastic clients. Been very fortunate. Lead UX at Newcastle Airport, designed the app for Great Exhibition of the North, worked on goal.com, which was amazing because I'm a massive football fan. Currently working on a deco. So I've been very fortunate in the time I've been a UX designer to work on some absolutely amazing products. And the one thing these products had in common, whilst I was working on them, was I implemented a lot of animation into these. I really took what I'd learned at university and what I did shortly as a career, as a short career. I applied that to my UX thinking, to my work, and it's paid dividend. It's been really useful, and I believe a lot of people have had a lot of enjoyment out of the products I've used. So I'm going to show you some examples of how animated prototypes have helped in my work, like real life situations. So prototypes for user testing, articulating ideas to clients and developers, demonstrating products before they are built, and having something to show during a pitch, which the final one there has been awesome, because to have something you can put in the hand of the client prior at that point of being in the pitch is so beneficial. So this one here, this one I'm going to press play on, was Dabble Bet. So here I was to create social games to encourage people to part with their money. And I don't know if anyone's used InVision. It's like a clickable prototype where you click through pages basically. And to get what we needed out of this sort of user testing, to see the joy of people when they've won, that kind of, not just how they look at it and how it works functionally, but also that moment of joy, that energy that comes with using a product, that feeling. We needed something that was a little bit more advanced than your simple click through the page type prototype. Especially for this one here, it's hard to see on the screen, but these are cards. I don't know if anyone's played on Tinder before, but that sort of yes or no swiping of the cards. So we needed to see and gauge how the user actually used that and how they swipe through, and was that functionality worthwhile before we sent it to the developers to develop. And this was verified by the user, and it's pretty much looks like that. You can still access it, I think, on Gold. So having prototypes like that to actually really understand how people interact with the products is very, very valuable. Another instance here of how animated prototypes have really helped is these two products I worked on, Sockaway and Makalik. Makalik's the largest website in Turkey. It's like over 100 million users, and Sockaway is one of the biggest statistician websites in the world. And both we needed to incorporate the capabilities of gambling on these websites. Now, Makalik, the client was in Turkey, the developers were in Poland, and I was in Leeds. And you can imagine things getting lost in translation with everyone speaking different languages, and me going all animated, going, yeah, well, if you swipe that and then you did that, and trying to get that message across is quite hard. So having the opportunity to show something in terms visually how it works, what it looks like, exactly how we would like it, was invaluable. And it turned out pretty successful. It helped talking to the stakeholders in Turkey. It helped talking to the developers in Poland, and proved to be a really useful tool in that respect. Now another, this is a really satisfying product that I worked on. It's called Securus. It's for safeguarding of children in the schools. And the idea around this is that behind the scenes, the algorithms here will detect certain behavior amongst children in the schools. So if people are saying bullying over and over again, or terrorism, it'd identify that, and it'd know that, okay, there's on this device within this classroom, this person, and start grouping that information. But the problem with this was that the original software they had looked quite similar to an Excel document. Wasn't very exciting, wasn't very engaging for the user to use. So we created a new facelift for it, and this is a prototype. Now they were at the time losing clients, and they wanted to go to some fairs and show off their product, this product here, and it gave them, having this animated prototype gave them the opportunity to go to these fairs and show it, get into the hand of maybe potential clients, but existing clients as well. And lo and behold, it turned out really successful. They gained more clients by using this prototype, didn't have to develop anything. And it actually really helped the company and take it to the next level. And this has gone live now. And this is always also a good example of how taking something that's quite dull, really, safeguarding children, lots of information, lots of facts. And by just having little moments, this is sped up like 10 times, but like the graphs bouncing and things just moving a little bit and making it a bit more entertaining, I guess, or engaging, really helps give a product that can be quite dull and boring a bit of a facelift. Another one, or another situation, like I mentioned previously, is pitches. Now, I've been fortunate enough to be quite successful in my pitch rate. Is this playing? Let's see if I can get it to play. Come on. Yeah, so I went along to the pitch for NCFE, and the gentleman who was scoring us, he was like, yeah, so we're after something that's got that sort of parallaxy feel to it. And I was like, wait a minute. Got my phone out of my pocket, put it into his hand, and he was like, oh my God, yeah, like that. Yeah, that's really cool. And obviously, giving somebody that opportunity to have something to take away. I don't know if anyone does sales or anything in the room, but if somebody's doing sales and you get a product or something into somebody's hand, you kind of got into their sphere, into their sort of area, and you've kind of made ground in terms of them understanding what you've got and having something to take away. So yeah, with NCFE, won that one. And I don't know, it wasn't just down to the prototype, but it definitely helped. The next one, Newcastle Airport. This was one of the most rewarding ones that I've been in. The gentleman, the director of Newcastle Airport, which is an international airport, was like, I just want that. Is that real? And actually genuinely thought the prototype that we made was real. And now if you go to, it took us about a week to make this. And they didn't want much changes. They were like, no, we don't need any user testing. It's fine. We'll have it as it is. It's great. And it looks a little bit different aesthetically. This is a wireframe prototype. And there was moments like this. See how the animation here that comes out of the button. And it's things like that. When people use it, they're like, it's so nice. That feels so good. And it kind of brings things alive. The animation within the products brings things alive. That never happened. The devs were like, whoa, that's not happening. We're not going to build that. But at that moment in time, whilst we were in the pitch, those guys were like, yes, that is what we want. And obviously won the pitch, met all their requirements within the sprint. And yeah, I get a lot of satisfaction out of that, because when I go on holiday, I'm like, oh yeah, it's the Upmade. It's pretty cool. I do like that a lot. The other one was Great Exhibition in the North here that I'm demoing. So when we won that pitch, it wasn't so much the design. It's again a wireframe, but it was like we thought out certain situations. This was random picking of your trail, and you can make these random trails based on your time, and that concept came across really nicely. And see how these boxes all animate and flicker, and the slider. Never made it. It was one of those, get rid of it. It's far too complex. It creates more issues than it's worth. But during that pitch situation, it gave us something to talk about. It allowed them to feel it and play this slide. And like, that's genius. It's amazing. We love it. But yeah, never made it through. But a lot of things did. Especially this stuff here, which was when we worked with Ubisoft. So we're working with Ubisoft, a big gaming company in the Northeast. Working with those guys to do the actual gamification side for children, which was really rewarding. Did some user testing on 600 children around the Northeast. And again, trying to get that playfulness, that animation into the products, which yeah, was really, really rewarding again. Here's some examples here, if I play this one, of how part of the user testing for the Great Exhibition in the North. It was a government-funded project, so everything needed to be validated, everything. So every idea was user tested to the max. But you can see here now how you're sliding through and you press yes, it changes the state of what's on the map. And that'll give the user some subconscious feedback that what they're doing there is affecting what they're doing there, and they're creating this trail. And if I press done, yep, I did. How that bounces out and then sucks into the button there, it kind of teaches the user through animation that, all that information's stored in that button, like in this one here. So having these animated prototypes to validate these ideas that if I had a box and it animated into this button here, do the users know that information's there? Well, we'll ask them in user testing. Okay, we just showed you that, you've pressed that. Can you now find your trail information? Did that animation work? Did it go into there? Yes, more often than not, they found it. You'll find as well, a lot of this animation didn't make it through to the final piece, which is quite frustrating. You always find that it gets to the developers, they leave animation to the end. I'm a great advocate to try and get it straight away in the front of your sprints, that it's like at the beginning, no, these are requirements. This is what we need. This is part of the user testing that has proved and validated that it's essential to have it. It's far too often people look at animation within the UX, within products, as being a secondary thing, which is quite annoying. And this one here is part of the gamification. If I just skip through, and you'll see when the message comes up here. So part of the user testing here would be, okay, you've read the instructions for the game, and then you've pressed done. And now, can you go to the gamification section? I know it says games, but just having that animate into that button really gives the user some kind of subconscious understanding of where that game is, where that content is hidden or displayed. If I move over to this slide here, so currently I'm working on a deco, and originally with a deco, we did this vision piece, and we have people all over the world, from all over the world, France, Spain, Germany, all these clients, and everyone wanted to have their piece, and everyone wanted to have their say. So we're creating this vision piece, and everyone's just throwing these ideas about, and we're trying to design stuff and drawing on the wall and making this idea. And then when it comes to it, we put it down, we're like, oh my God, this is crazy. It's dead ends everywhere, and it's all like inconsistent. So we need to give it some structure. And part of that structure, we assigned ways of transitioning between each state. So you'll have a parent to a child or sibling transitions. And I'll go into this a bit more detail in a moment when I show you some basic principles of these transitions. But in this instance here, I'm not going to show you the actual Adecco screens, but I can't just yet. But you can go from a level 2, which would be the parent, to the child. So you've gone from a content page and you've delved deeper from an overview page to the detail page, and you're going through. Whereas if it was sibling to sibling, so two detail pages next to each other, you'd slide across like that, similar to like your photo album on Facebook or along those lines. I press play on this one. Really simple, but if I switch the switches, you know it's switched on, and then the grey switch turned blue, just to give through a little bit of animation, just to give the user some understanding that to go past there, you must do that first. If you don't, I'm not a big fan of error messages everywhere. I find them really aggressive. So I think if you can do it visually through kind of these type of interactions, I think it's really beneficial and really more, it's much more, I don't know, it's softer on the user's eyes, I'd say. And this one's stolen from the Masters Google, quite simply filling out a form. That's where you need to fill out. You press on it, animates to the top. Still, I'm being reminded it's an email address, and that blue line indicates that that's become active. Again, really simple, really subtle. People don't actually go, ooh, that was a lovely animation. But like the old saying goes, the devil's in the detail, and it's these kind of moments that really just polish an app and give that user experience a bit of a facelift. Okay, so next. If the slide goes to the next one, I'm going to talk about my favorite tools. Okay, so the first one I'm going to talk about, let me have a drink. I didn't do these animations on the side, by the way. Stolen. But anyway, so the first one I'm going to talk about is Principle. Now, Principle, based on a few basic principles, is an amazing tool that you can do so much with. You can get the product on your phone. I'm going to demo that in a moment. So I'll go through the basic principles, and I'll show you some other prototypes that I've done, and I'll get a couple on my phone and I'll pass it around so you can have a look as well. Have a little play with it. That's that one. And the next one I'm going to talk about is Lottie. Has anyone heard of Lottie? Anyone developers in the room? Yeah? Okay, so Lottie is an amazing bit of software. So you create your animations in After Effects, vector-based animations, and then you press this magic button and it exports it as a JSON file. And then you can use that JSON file in your product, and it just does it instantaneously as long as you've created the right type of animation. In this case here, things like logos, loading screens, burger menus, love hearts exploding for whatever reason. That's those kind of interactions. Loves it, pumps it out. And at the moment, our client that we're working with is just like, oh my God, these are amazing. Like, it was probably one of the only compliments he's given us so far. But yeah, I'll take it. It's all good. So what I'm going to do is not end the show. I'm just going to drop out of here and do some demos. Aha, cool. So this is a Lottie animation here, this one. This lock, things like that, little moments like that. Okay, let's slide across. So this is the letterbox. And you can see there's not much going on here. It's quite simple. I've got a few things that I'm changing, a few variables that I'm changing. But to give that effect, there's the 3 screens. You get an idea. To give that effect of it coming through to the next level, And this one here is the email one. It's just simply 2 screens. Change the scale of that and change the color of the line. Quite simple, and obviously the height on the Y level. And then the switch one. There we go, submit my request. And this one I didn't show in the demo, but quite simply is the top nav collapsing. I say quite simply. This, for some reason, has been like the hardest thing to get implemented on the current project with our Indian developers. It seems to be just like mind-blowing for them. But anyway, I'm not going into too much detail with that one. So here, I'm going to show you, this is the first basic thing that you do in Principle. The basic principles of Principle. So you see how that, I tap on that button and it changes its state. Quite simple. Okay, so I'm going to take a seat here whilst I go through, and feel free to just fire any questions. If you have any questions about what I'm doing right now, just ask away. That's all cool. Okay, so I'm going to create a box here. So you see the rectangle that was in the top right corner? Let's just move these over a bit. So got that rectangle there. And you can use rectangles to make any sort of shape. And create another box here. If I wanted to turn the box into a circle, that's fine. Just move that radius like that. Okay, and then I make that into a button. I just tap on the Thunder lightning bolt. I don't know why it's a lightning bolt, and drag that into itself here. And then I'm going to say, okay, now on that screen, I want you to move down a little bit. Okay, cool. Let's go up this time because we went down last time. And then when you go back to that screen, it's quite easy, isn't it? I want you to go back to where it was. And you can change how the state of that transition. So I know like some things ease in, ease out. I like using spring, and then everyone always goes, right, can you take all the spring out of it? Because everything starts bouncing and wobbling, but I like bouncy wobbly things. So that's cool. There's a spring there. Okay. As you can see, I've created, and that principle alone, you could, change the image at the background. You can change the size of the button. In this case, it's pretty big. So you could imagine you could do a lot of things with just that those basic things. And the other cool thing as well, you can get it on your phone. So let's see here. Principle. There it is. There's my button. Straight away, you've got can everyone see? You've got a little prototype on your phone, which is cool. When I saw this, because obviously I was always using, well, I say obviously, but I was using After Effects, and then I saw this software. I was like, oh my gosh, it's so cool. Mind blown. Okay, so the next one here is the switch. See the switch? There you go. My switch changes state. On, off, on, off. So what you do to make that happen is you have to create a component. So first of all, let's make that round. So give that a bit of radius on the edges. Come on. My finger's not working. So I burnt my finger whilst making design. Okay, so make that round. Make that one round too. And let's put it together there. Awesome. And we'll highlight that and then press create component. It goes into a create component sort of area. I don't know why. Press that. So tap again, same as last time. I'll tap that, and I want that now to move over this way. Like so. And I want the background there to change color to a Sunderland red, and then back that way to the black. Switch it, and I go back to my instance. Now the cool thing about components is that I can duplicate that component and have as many switches as I so desire. I've got all these switches now. What's pink? It's quite simple, eh? And again, these components, you don't just have to make switches with the components, you can make absolutely anything with them. And they're pretty cool things, so you could duplicate stuff over and over again. But if you do change one of the elements within one component, then it will change the rest, which is useful, but sometimes annoying. This one here now, this is paging. Is this on, where's that artboard? Okay, so how I'm paging across, so you can imagine like a news article in the BBC, and I page across these news articles. I'll show you how to make this. So I'm showing something in the top nav changing state just to get that idea across there. But let's see here. So what you do is you'd group those squares, all made with the rectangle at the top. But this talks to Sketch, by the way, or Photoshop. So the products that your assets that you create in Photoshop and Sketch, drop them straight in here. and treat them exactly the same as I'm using there, the squares in this instance. So I'll group that, Command and G, and then I go horizontal, and I go page, and then put that to an area here. Now you can see that page starts paging across. But I need to affect it. So like in After Effects or any video editing app, you've got a timeline. Time is not time in this instance. It's based on gestures. So whether it's a touch, a tap, a drag, a scroll, these gestures then will affect something else. So I'm saying this here box, I want to affect its scale. And I know that the screen size is it? 66375. So I go on 375 like this. Can you get it? Come on. Yay. I want the scale to then go to 2. Oh no, I've got the wrong one. Scale of that to go to 2. There we go. And now let's put a keyframe in. Keyframe based on the gesture. And then I go 750. I think my math's right. Should be. I want the scale to go to 3. And now while I page across, you can see how that changes nicely. So in a real life sort of instance, how that's been applied. It's not the best design, again, it's a wireframe, but you can see that I've got these cards here, and the images that are related to the cards will change. So exactly the same principle of what you've seen there, but with a little bit more visuals. So when you go to the client and they see their logo and see what you're doing, they're like, oh, cool, that's awesome. So yeah. That is basically the principles of Lottie. Here's the one from Newcastle Airport that I did. And this one here is a cool idea I've got at the moment. That's a betting game called Tap and Bet. Anyone who's a developer wants to get involved, give me a shout. I'll leave my email at the end. More than welcome. I'm joking. But you can see the level of fidelity that you can get to. So this is the idea around this is you select where you think moments are going to happen on the football pitch on a content scoreboard. And if that's correct, then you win that prize. There you go, and then you press bet. But to get to this, I went through so many different types of prototypes to get to this level of fidelity, to get to this idea, and it's still ongoing, to be honest. And yeah, it's as far as prototypes go that you can work with, it was pretty complex. You can see a lot of the screens here, not as much as the Newcastle Airport one. Look at all those. They're all the interactions that are created between each of these things. Literally mapped out the whole of Newcastle Airport's app for that presentation. Paid dividend there. That's pretty cool. Okay, so next is Lottie. Lottie's just cooler than this even. At the moment, doing stuff for Adecco. Let's move that out of the way. And yeah, they're loving these Lottie interactions. So After Effects. Anyone familiar with After Effects? Used it before? Cool, man. Free to use. Airbnb. I feel like I'm a sales rep for them now. Airbnb's Lottie. Absolutely free. It's a plugin that goes into your After Effects. It's called Body Moving. Let me highlight that here. Here we go. There it is. Body Moving. And what you do is, if you use Sketch or Photoshop, you need to get or go straight into Illustrator. Get your Illustrator file. Let me do one. Let me go. Here we go. Move that out of the way. It's annoying though, it just stays at the front. Okay, so this is a bell that I'm going to show. Composition. New comp. There we go. Just call it comp 4. And you get your Illustrator file, drag that in. Bring your Illustrator file into here. Got caps lock on. Okay, let's give it a black background so you can see what's going down. Cool. And then here you go to create shapes from a vector layer. That's dead important. You need to do that bit. So you need to turn these into a vector layer so you just see the outline. And then that means that it doesn't matter when you put it into the device, it'll be responsive. So it won't lose any of its quality. It stays nice and crisp, regardless of screen size. I'm not going to go through and do all the transitions of this, but what I will do is go into here and show you one that I've made earlier. I can be it on Blue Peter. So here's one I made earlier. And if I select it in here, so which is this one, comp 1. I go to the settings and go to demo. Demo is important because we want to be able to visualize it. Comp 1, and then render that out. Oh, I've got nowhere to send it to. Let's send it to that. Save. I'll replace that one. Cool. And then render that out. And then quite simply, I drop that down. I go to my browser here. I've got this demo file. I drag it into my browser. I got my bell ringing. And like I said before, it's responsive and it keeps its quality. So I'm gonna have it really tiny, really big. And you can also take these files and drop them in. So you can take the JSON files to test if the JSON file works and drop them in here. That should show it you in its format. How the JSON file looks in reality. If I click on it, this is what it's just pumped out. It opens it. Come on. No, it's not opening it. Let's open it. It'd open it in Xcode, but it hasn't. Basically, it's just a load of series of numbers and letters. Looks like something out of the Matrix. But it's really cool, a really amazing tool. You can do a lot with it. I highly recommend it. If you're designing an app, you're making an app, here's examples of the ones I'm doing at the moment. Various stuff. It's definitely something that's worthwhile, and especially if you've already got the skills in After Effects. A few simple things you need to get called body moving, and off you go. You're pumping out really nice transitions. Let's have a look at one in here. Personal details. Can't remember what it looks like. Drop it in anyway. Let's have a look. There we go. So it's little bounces and things like that. Just to elevate your products, using animation to really give it a facelift, give it a bit of joy. Let's go back into the presentation then. Has anybody got any question around the products that I've just demoed there? Like Principal or Lottie or anything? You can ask stuff at the end too if you so desire, but no? Awesome. No, so Principal's about 100 quid. Lottie's free though. So, and Lottie's the good one really, at the end of the day, I'd say, in terms of getting its end-to-end sort of journey and getting it into your products. So that one's free, it's a plugin. Principal's only about 99 quid though, which it's not really for what you can use it for. And Principal, oh man, I'm dyslexic, don't ask me how to spell. I've just had to do like 1 million times the same thing before. Hold on, right, Principal. Like, where's there at the top. Principle, like that. Like Principal. Damn, it looks so obvious now I'm reading it. Right, no more spelling questions, everyone. I've had it all day. Funny. The irony. Yeah, joys of being dyslexic. Right, let's get back into it. So, but I'm good with pictures and pretty things. So, the key principles, there it is again. The word's now hounding me. The key principles when animating transitions. Okay, so like I said before, there's certain sort of levels. Got parents, siblings, children. If it is, like I showed, a parent or a child, it's always nice to go into it, delve deeper into the content of the overview. In this one here, this is an example now of sibling transitions. So like I mentioned before, like your photo album, just like shimmying along. All got the same sort of hierarchical sort of importance, and we'll shift along nicely. As with these ones here, so if you've got some sort of tabs on the bottom nav, it's nice that these just fade instantaneously. None of them are more important than the others. That could be your chat. That one could be, I don't know, your jobs, and that one over there could be your home button. They're all kind of on the same level par. So it'd be nice that they transition. And the advantage to having these transitions differentiating from each other is that it really helps the user journey. So if everything was just coming in from the side or coming up from the bottom, you kind of get a bit lost. If you put everything into their own little brackets, into their own boxes, you get a real solid understanding without actually understanding of where you are within the product. So it does help the user testing, and we've done a lot of user testing on this, user experience, and we've done a lot of user testing on this, and it's proven dividend or paid dividend. Okay, some do's when animating your products. Okay, here's a really obvious one. So use animations that match the style of your app. So you can see here the owl and the font and the colors really suit the way these little things wobble when they come in. A lot better than my animations. Nightmare. But yeah, so that using the style of your product, make that consistent, and that's across the board of anything really. Whether it be your your colors or your iconography. Try and stay consistent with your style. Now, use animations that give users rewards for completing tasks. Now, I love this. Celebratory rewards, interstitial moments that I'm uploading something and then boom, I get some fireworks or a little bird in a box. Those sort of celebratory reward moments really give joy to a user. You know, it takes time to make an animation. So if you give that to somebody for doing something, it's quite a nice gift, I'd say. Or I should say GIF, no pun intended. It was intended. And this one here, as we saw with the Lottie files before, iconography, it's gives a bit of a polish. And like similar to what I was saying earlier about the map and how that swipes through, these icons now, you know which one's been selected. And that's good. It helps you. It draws your eyes to the relevant areas. So not only does it help the user experience, but it gives your product a little bit of polish. And next, the bad stuff, things that you shouldn't do within your products. This one here is obstruct the user's journey. And as a UX designer, it's a big no-no for me. So doing that by going over the top, big crazy things flying around, and I probably do that as well, but I have like people like Tom in the office wrangling us back going, no, you don't need dancing ladybirds now, just keep it simple, which is good to have. It's always good to have a good team around you to make sure you don't go over the top, but that's a very important one with using animation, because as much as it's great and we all love it, well, most people love it, it can be annoying as well if you do it too much. This one here, don't obstruct the content or the task in hand. As you can see, it's a lovely little bounce. I think they've got the timing of it amazingly and it's cool, but it's obstructing the content and that's no good. We need animation to complement what we're doing, not get in the way, not hinder what we want. And this one here, so sort of avoid staggered, frequent interactions, avoid like these weird staggered interactions, these weird staggered transitions. You can imagine you do that over and over and it starts whooshing this way and whooshing that way. You get a bit seasick, wouldn't you? It'd be like, oh God, stop wobbling, man. So yeah, be just careful with how you implement animation into your products. Make sure that it's, complements what you're doing. It gives a little bit of reward, a little bit of enjoyment. Don't go over the top. Talking to myself now. And yeah, just make sure it actually complements what you're doing. So, where do I see the future of animation in UX? Well, I see this world where people are sat on a train, looking at their phone, playing Candy Crush and just staring away. That's now, isn't it, really? What a nightmare. People need to get their phones out of their hands, out of their faces, and start interacting with the world again. And the ironic thing is that I wouldn't say bringing the world alive, but maybe by bringing inanimate objects alive, we can do that. Making the Internet of Things happen. Bring stuff. This is a bit crazy. It's gone way too in the wrong direction. We'll probably get seasick, but it's like my mind at the moment. But yeah, it's kind of bringing the world around you alive. That's how animation's heading. We've got AR, VR, stuff on your table. Imagine that, I don't know, does anyone use Uber? People who use Uber? Yeah? Okay, so you've ordered your Uber and you've got your wearables on, you're wearing your glasses or some contact lenses, and in the distance you see like a big Batman beam sign in the sky and you watch your beam get closer. Stuff like that, or say I need directions and I'm like, directions, pop out, and it will appear and you got a little like dude, whatever character you want, you could choose your type of character, a little goblin or something, going, come on then, I'll show you the way again, and you're following these creatures, or maybe you're going for your bus, and there's a sign on the bus, and it knows the AI knows actually your habits, your behavior, knows what time bus you want, it knows exactly what bus you do want, and the sign, it's got like, oh, hi Kirk, your next bus will be this time here, and I've seen it from my eyes, and it's on that board, and somebody else has seen a different view of that. And I think that kind of world would be amazing, like billboards that are personally advertised to me to sell me the food that I want maybe. And I'm like, oh, it's KFC, cool. Oh, it's a discount on KFC. I can order it, and I order it there. And then a drone brings me a KFC while I'm waiting for my bus that's been perfectly subscribed for myself. That's where I feel we're going, that the world will come alive in a weird kind of ironic way, but inanimate objects come alive and the Internet of Things will become, not like this, let's hope not anyway, but especially not that bit, it's naughty. But yeah, turn into something where we don't have this all the time. And it's more about this, and we can engage more with people and kind of interact on that level. That's me. That's UX and animation. Thank you all very much for taking the time out to come and listen to me rant on. My email's there, my work email. If you have any questions, want any advice or anything like that, yeah, please get in touch. More than happy to help and chat more about UX in general and animation. So yeah, thank you very much, and yeah, good night. Should have said that's all, folks. Damn, I missed that one.
Cheers, Kirk. That's awesome.
Sweet, thank you.